Attack me with it.
Welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Mike Caron, and with me is my co-host,
Chad Campbell.
Make sure you stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, and also check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Just a warning, if you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at Steve Miner's 1982 film, Friday the 13th, Part 3. It scored 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get into it. Chad, do you have the plot summary for our listeners?
Jason Voorhees stalks a group of friends who have just arrived to spend the weekend at a cabin near Crystal Lake. We're going to get into Sinister Sips, right?
Yeah. Our cocktail for this one is called the Jason Cocktail from Haunted Ventures on TikTok. And this is a cranberry vodka and lime concoction.
All right.
So,
cheers.
Well, it goes down easy.
Ah, delicious.
Yeah. I got to say, I enjoyed making it because you have to muddle the cherries first. And then when you put in your vodka and your lime, it creates this like sort of cloudy mixture at the bottom that gets ruined almost by the topping off with the cranberry. But
the look of it is quite bloody.
It is quite bloody. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually looks pretty cool. Better than the film, I think.
Yeah. Better than the blood in the movie. Yeah. Now we're going to move into our first impressions. Chad, do you want to start us off?
So I'm pretty sure I had seen this movie before because I know I've seen all of them. But obviously I didn't revisit this one, so it was almost like seeing this for the first time. And yeah, this film is tough. I mean, the acting's poor. The sets are poorly done. It's just a tough watch for pretty much, I'd say, an hour of the film. I mean, by the end, when he actually starts getting into the meat of it and he starts to kill people, then it starts getting fun. But they're trying to develop characters that we don't really care about. Yeah. And they're introducing these characters, but they're not introducing them very well.
Yeah.
You just don't buy into it. I mean, you just don't care about it. It's all just fodder for Jason.
Yeah.
Right. The only person you're supposed to care about is Chris, who, for some ungodly reason, is going back to the camp.
Yeah. And is removed from the plot, essentially. Like she's sidelined with Rick for 75% of the film.
These are supposed to be her best friends.
Yeah.
And we don't see her interact with them at all. She runs into Rick, who we don't really know, and he just kind of takes her and they go off and talk about their relationship for 30 minutes of the film. Everybody else is getting murdered.
Well, they're going through the tropes of a slasher. Chris and Rick off having a Hallmark-esque drama development. I
don't know what they're trying to do there. Anyways, this film, I'd say the last half hour is a solid watch just because of the killing scenes. Other than that, you can pass it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm kind of the same. I know that I've seen all of the Friday the 13th franchise, and I know I've revisited some of them. Watching this before our recording, it was very fresh. Felt like I'd never seen the movie before.
Yeah.
I didn't remember a lot of who the characters were or what was going to happen to them.
Yep.
So it's kind of nice. Even watching this fresh, though, it wasn't enjoyable. There were moments of like shout out, like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But like you said, they spend so much time trying to introduce us to these characters that we don't care about because it's established in the first 7 minutes of the film, everybody from part one that survived isn't going to come back. The only person we're carrying through this franchise is Jason.
Yep.
So now we've got okay, we have to invest in a whole new group of people that give us nothing to bite onto. I wanted to get to the killing, so stop trying to get me to invest in them because all I want is the meat for the butcher, basically, in this film. So yeah, to finish off my first impressions, I enjoyed it for a slasher film eventually. That last half hour saved the first hour of that slog.
For sure. Yeah.
We're going to now move into our tropes hall of shame, and I'll be starting us off. And my first trope is the death blow isn't a death blow. Actually, sorry, we need to talk about this before we get into the film.
Okay.
But do we deal with that first 7 minutes as a conversation about this movie, or do we leave it like it never happened? Because we're talking about Friday the 13th, Part 3.
Yeah.
But the first 7 minutes of the film is the last scenes of part 2.
Right.
So can we criticize it, or should we just let that be from the other film?
No, I think we can still comment on that. This one starts
where that one ended.
In fact, it's a recap. And this is the only film that I believe that recaps.
Yeah.
All the other films are standalone.
It came into the theater so quickly afterwards, too. It's not even like the audiences needed a previously on Friday the 13th.
Right.
It's almost like they're saying like, this was really good and we're not going to be there. So we're going to go back to that really good film.
Exactly. We're going to show you this so you can suffer through an hour of shit.
Yeah.
And then you're going to get a half hour of good again.
A half hour of good again. Yeah. Okay. Then I'll bring my trope in because it is the death blow isn't a death blow.
Right.
Which we do see later in this movie as well, where Ginny has put the machete through Jason's like clavicle.
Right.
We assume he's dead, but oh no, he's not. So my next one is we jump forward, and this is the angry wife in curlers.
Oh yeah, I
with
had
Harold
that one.
at the train station convenience store. I've got notes on that as well. So those are my first two. What did you have?
Well, I had Thunderstorm
Oh right, yeah.
on a scary shack. Right. I also have one that is whenever they don't want to show the killer, they show the weapon.
Right.
The weapon comes down and there's the kill scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for me, my next one's the killer in the hanging laundry. If you're watching a horror movie and there's hanging laundry, you know the killer is going to be walking behind it at some point. And then my next trope kind of jumps us forward a bit, but it's the oversexed teenagers.
yes, my next trope was cops drive by. So the kids are in the van and they're smoking the ganja and they see the cops fire up and then they just blow by them. So that's one I thought.
I had that one like, eat the drugs.
Yeah. I loved how they did that.
Yeah. Especially there's a shot of one of them. They're all interchangeable, but the guy in the front seat where he has like almost like raw salad in his mouth. Like it's in his teeth. It's so obvious what's happening.
Another trope I had was there are a ton of warning signs before these guys even get to this cabin. And Chris has been to this cabin before and has been stalked.
Yeah.
And she just ignores him and is like, here we
Totally
go.
fine.
We're going to have a good time. So that was another one. Also, the rickety bridge.
Oh, yeah. I had the sort of, one friend in the group is an awkward, overweight loser.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't quite fit in. And then you had the stoners.
What I didn't like about that character is it was so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
About
They went
nobody
skinny
likes
dipping.
me.
Yeah. He was definitely like sold as the loser of the group.
Yeah.
Hard in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were some of your other tropes?
When they first arrive, let's all go skinny dipping right away.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I've been young at a lake a lot of times, and it takes a few drinks before I want to go skinny dipping.
Yeah.
So there's that one, stereotypical hippie.
Yeah. Yeah. The stoner couple.
Really, really too much.
Yeah. Because all they do is smoke up and lay about.
No shoes.
Yeah. I've got stuff on the no shoes later.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I might add to our listeners that this is the first time that Mike and I have sat down and watched one of these films together.
Yeah. It was kind of fun to watch the movie and then see you scribbling in your notebook like, I can't wait till he mentions that one.
Yeah. I know. I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, what's he putting down there?
I had the simple country folk. They're driving along the road and they're like, oh my God, Chris, watch out. And she almost drives over the guy that's laying there and he's just like, oh dear, I must have been in heaven.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. And then he does the warning where he's holding the rabbit's eye, like, don't go down there, it's dangerous.
He gave me this. Yeah. But that goes into the warning signs too. This is what got me is as they're driving by, the bodies are being carried out. There's no police presence around.
Yeah. Well, that was one of my tropes is like the cops get out of the car and immediately like, whoa, back off. It's like there's 4 extras around the scene.
My biggest one, and I think this is going to come up a lot, is dead bodies put in elaborate positions.
Oh, amazing in this film. Amazing.
I said this before.
Yeah.
I wish someone would film the killer trying to put these bodies in these weird positions because it just makes no sense.
This is the movie that made me think like Jason hiding the body almost with this like childish glee of like, oh, I can't wait till they see it. And they're like almost on like
It's like Christmas.
on his tiptoes, like, oh, they're opening the door or whatever, like just waiting to see the reveal. Yeah.
And then I'm going to be there and then I'm going to kill them.
Yeah. This was the movie that really pushed it over that line.
Oh, it was so much.
Yeah. I do have to highlight my favorite one, though, is like when Debbie goes back to the hammock and she's reading the magazine and then blood starts dripping on the magazine. She's like, where is that coming from? It's like, well, clearly from above you, you dumbass. And then she looks up and Andy is
in half.
Like, why? Why would Jason take the time, kill him in the hallway,
and put him in the rafters? You know how much time that would have taken?
Yeah, exactly.
Longer than a shower. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, crazy.
I had the trope of faking dead. And this comes back, where Shelley, very early in the film, we hear somebody scream and they go like, oh my God, what happened? And they find Shelley with an axe to his head and he falls out. He sells it pretty well. Like it is movie level quality makeup. And then the other guy tickles him. It's like, oh, it was all the prank. Ha ha ha. This is hilarious. No. But every slasher has to have that one person in the group who's like, no, it's funny or whatever.
Yeah.
I also love the preppy guy with a sweater over his neck.
Oh, man. In the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer, in a flannel with a sweater around his neck for later in the evening.
Yeah.
Just, so good. All right. We're now going to move into our one-liners. Chad, what is one of the lines that you liked in the film?
It's when the wife freaks out.
Yeah.
She's like, God damn, Harold. I spent all day hanging those up.
That was so good.
And she just flips out in 1 second. And he doesn't even knock it down. All he does is walk by. Yeah. And she just loses her mind.
I think that's more in the editing. But yeah, he knocks over the stick that's keeping the line up so the laundry doesn't hit the ground. And he immediately goes to fix it.
Yes.
Yeah. And she loses her shit.
And then she carries on about it. Why am I here? Like, she's just an unhappy lady.
Yeah.
And
she's like 22.
20. Married to a 40-year-old convenience store.
Well, they put her in curlers, so that's supposed to age her up, I guess.
Right. They didn't do a good job with her makeup, aging her. So they tried with her costume and stuff. Yeah. It wasn't well done.
Not at all. One of my first lines was when they go to bring their friend out of the house, like the mother and the daughter are yelling at each other.
Oh,
it's like, what are they even saying? It's like, I don't know. I flunked Spanish.
Yes, I put that one as well. It was golden.
There were so many lines in this movie that were just like, I don't know if they were trying to be funny or what, but they were like throwaway gold.
Yeah, that was awesome. My next one was Rick, the grease ball. And my first note was, Rick looks old.
Yeah, like Ed Helms presently.
Yes. His one quote is, Kate, there's only so many cold showers I can take.
Yeah.
He just keeps trying.
From the get-go.
Yeah. As soon as they meet, let's get it on.
My next line is, and I think this is going to come up a lot in this conversation, but where Shelley is being introduced sort of as a blind date to Vera. And so when Vera comes out of the house after arguing with her mother, she's like, oh, you're Shelley? And his first line is, sorry. They're just still punching home that like loser, overweight.
They do that right out of the gate.
Yeah.
The thing that gets me is his way to deal with that.
Oh, is to be so like offensively bad with jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like scare people and do like these horrific things.
Yeah.
Make himself look like he's been killed and stuff like that. Like just really in poor taste.
Yeah.
Right.
And it comes up later when Chris is like, why do you do that? He's like, I have to.
Yeah, but we don't know why.
Yeah.
Because nobody likes it. I mean, if he was funny.
It doesn't endear them to him.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if he was funny and the guy, why do you always have to put on a show?
Yeah.
Then I could get it. But I mean, everybody hates him because of it. And then Vera even says, she's like, I like you.
Yeah.
But no, you don't. And then he runs away. I don't know. It's stupid.
It's so bad. Yeah. Did you have another line?
Well, it's another Rick one. This is the sweat of a worker on my forehead, not a lover.
Yeah.
And then in the very next line, let's get to bed.
Yeah. We're going to keep attacking Rick through this.
Oh, Rick's got some gold lines.
When he carries Chris over his shoulder, he's like, Chris, I think you've gained weight since last summer.
Yeah.
That's really going to win her over. Like, she is fighting him off like a prize boxer because he is just sex out the gate. And she's like, no, like, let's talk. We haven't seen each other for months.
Again. Yeah.
And then his next line is like, you've put some weight on. Like,
he's going to score some gold there. I have, come on, Debbie. How about a little roll in the hay?
Oh, the roll in the hay comment. That was great. Yeah. I I like that. And then Debbie's response was like, you go in there and play with yourself. I'm going back to the house.
Yes.
That's so good.
Sorry, that was not Rick.
That was Debbie and Andy. I want to jump back on Rick here, where he's up in the hayloft and he's like working up a sweat of work, as you alluded to earlier. But and she's like, oh, you gave up the chance to spend the weekend with Mary Jo Conrad to be with little old me?
Oh, yeah.
And I just love that line because it's like, of course it's a Mary Jo or like a Mary Beth.
Right. And he even mentions that as like,
you should be thankful I'm here with you.
Thankful that I gave this. Mary Jo wanted to spend, but I said no.
Yeah.
And she's, oh, you gave it up? Well,
to
you
be
know.
with little old me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a dirtbag.
I don't understand that relationship.
No, neither do I. She hasn't been back to Crystal Lake for 2 years.
2 years.
Since the incident they keep alluding to.
Yes. Yeah.
She hasn't seen him for a year.
You're right.
So clearly somewhere else other than the lake, they've re-encountered each other. But what happened a year ago where he's just like, I'm just going to assume when I see you again, it's on.
We're just going to pick up right where we left off.
We're going to go like rabbits.
I don't know. I don't know that relationship very well.
It's problematic.
Yeah, it's just weird.
I have a couple more lines. I did like when, I think this is Debbie and Andy again. They're my favorite couple in this film. But she's like, hey, let's go skinny dipping. Let's go down to the lake. We can fool around. We can do whatever. And he's like, I don't know. And she's like, come on, we can do whatever we want. And then his response is, sounds disgusting. I'll go. I'm like, oh, I like this guy.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Sounds disgusting. I'll go.
Oh, I did have one when the hippie's like, why don't you ever scream like that?
Yeah, I have that whole back and forth.
Yeah. And she's like, well, give me something to scream about.
Yeah. It starts with, did I hear screaming? And the hippie Chuck's like, no, it's probably just Debbie having an orgasm. How come you never scream when we have sex?
Yeah. She says, well, give me something to scream about.
Yeah.
That was golden.
That back and forth was phenomenal. They did nothing all film but sleep on the couch or smoke pot.
I know. And then all of a sudden, there was a little bit of glimpse of what their characters could be.
Yeah.
And then they were killed. It was so frustrating because that could have been like, you know,
The film,
yeah.
The people we bought into.
You started to kind of care about them when they woke up.
Yeah. I wanted to see their domesticity disrupted by the slasher eventually. Yeah.
It ends so abruptly that you start to kind of, there's a little bit of a history here. And then the acting's so fucking bad.
So bad. I think Chuck does a great job, but Chili, which is a terrible name for that woman.
Yeah.
And she's running up and down in that weird outfit. Okay, we got to talk about that as well. He is wearing like a dashiki. He's got a headband. He looks like a stoner.
Yeah.
He's got the wire rim, like Lennon glasses, no shoes. She is dressed like Joan Collins from a 1970s drama.
She's blue on blue.
Long sleeve, turtleneck sweater.
Yeah. Smoking pot, but you don't really buy it.
Yeah, you don't see her as the stoner. Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird pairing.
I know.
And then I was going to talk about also, we're supposed to believe these are teenagers at a cabin. We've already established that Rick is like 40-year-old Ed Helms of now. Like Chris, Debbie, Shelley, Vera look young.
Yeah.
Chuck and Chili.
Oh, they're older.
Yeah, they're like somebody's parents went along with this.
Yeah.
It was a weird group.
It is. And it doesn't make sense. And I don't know why Chris is friends with them.
I don't know either. So on the doesn't make sense, let's move on to what doesn't hold up. And my first one out the gate was the opening of the film, the previously on Friday the 13th.
Yes.
It felt weird. And like, why? I think it came out 16 months later. It seems like a weird TV.
Because we're not following her.
We're not. Did they have to establish like
he's still around?
Here's why we're not following her? I don't know.
Well, I think they wanted to establish the fact that Jason was still alive.
Yeah, because this is like the day after the end of part 2.
So I think what they should have done is just cut it to the last scene where she slashes him.
Yeah.
And then he just moves. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The killer's alive.
Yeah.
It's the post-credit sequence when we didn't have it.
Yeah.
That's my first doesn't hold up. What doesn't hold up for you?
Many. My big basic one is one that I've already alluded to is why is she with this group and why are they going on this trip?
Yeah.
2 years ago, she was hunted down and something happened there that freaked her out, but she is willing to go back to this place. It just doesn't make sense.
Sure, you haven't seen your friends for a while, but go anywhere else.
I don't know why And this is what bothers me about this film. I don't know why they're together. I don't know why they're going on this trip.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they care about each other. And it's not established throughout the whole entire film.
Right.
And in fact, we've already said that she leaves and goes talk to the fucking old man dude.
Who's at the cabin when they get there. He's not even in the van on the way there.
Super creeper. He's there stalking and grabs her.
Yeah.
Which is super insensitive for someone who's been stalked already. You're just gonna grab her and then be like, what a dick. So he does that. And then for the rest of the film, she doesn't even talk to her friends.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh my God, right. Because they come back, it's like, it's weirdly quiet. The Wild Bunch doesn't.
Yes.
They're
gone
dead.
the whole time. They're hauling hay. They go out. All of a sudden
my
it's
God,
night.
yeah.
She never talks to them. It's so fucking weird. It's so weird.
We look at toxic relationships now. It's like every warning sign. I'm going to break you away from your friend group.
Bing, 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 bing. The whole thing. Don't hang out with them. You're coming with me.
For me, what doesn't hold up is way back at the beginning of the film when we're seeing Harold and the wife with the curlers, and he looks in the rabbit cage and they're all dead.
Yeah.
And that snake jumps out.
Oh.
And you can see the wire.
Yeah.
We're not even watching like a great HD restoration, but you could see the fishing line on that plastic snake. And then as you identified, the snake is now frozen in position because they're not even going to continuity out of frame. What's your next doesn't hold up other than the film?
The acting. Chili, other than that little glimpse that we see where she starts to get sarcastic and mean with Chuck, is horrible. When she walks up and sees these dead bodies and she's running down the stairs, it's like every stereotypical dumb victim that's like, oh, and she's trying to scream, but it's poorly done. And then
it's like she's reading her terror off of cue cards, which is what you pointed out.
Yes. And I think there are many times where these people do not know their lines, where they're reading it off of cue cards. But Chili's whole scene where, you know, she's running around and being scared just doesn't hold up. In fact, all the acting in this film is just abysmal. It's so fucking bad.
Her physicality in the space was noticeably bad because the spiral staircase in that cabin, every other character.
Why do you have a spiral staircase in the cabin?
Because it's the 1980s and that's what we do. Every other character, when they come down that staircase, exits left and goes around.
Yes.
And then we get the spring of surprise. We get this element of like, oh, where's Jason? Whatever.
Right.
Happens like 3 times. She's the only one that runs down that staircase and exits right to the door. It was so noticeable.
Obvious.
That I was like, did they reposition the staircase for that shot? Because every other character had to exit the other way around it.
Interesting.
That's
I
how
bet you
bad.
they did.
Well, either they had to reposition it for the shot or she didn't follow direction.
Right.
And
She
went
didn't
right
follow
to
where
the
she needed
door,
to go.
whereas every other character went left. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because every other character would go down the stairs. We'd see that same tracking shot that she does.
Yeah.
You'd see from the top of the stairs perspective down. They would exit left. We'd then see it from like their knees as they exit left. And then there'd be the surprise.
Ah, yeah.
We never got that shot with her because I think like she just didn't follow the director's notes on that.
It's like, fuck it. We'll just blow the door down.
I know I have to get to the door. We'll go to the door.
Go to a door. But that was the other thing that bothered me is the architecture of that whole entire cabin is because they had 2 entrances at
a
really
90-degree
close
corner.
together.
Like less than 12 inches in on either wall.
And a ton of windows that I just didn't seem to be there. We'll get into that later.
Well, I think we should talk about what doesn't hold up is the architecture of the house because the doors can't handle a slight wind.
Yeah.
The windows are swinging open
all the time. I say Chris spends a good 45 seconds. She's back and forth, closing doors, closing windows, closing doors, closing windows. At one point, I even said, what the fuck is happening? Why is she closing these so much?
This cabin has not been visited in a year and has clearly been fine. But this one slight windstorm has been enough to rattle 2 doors off their hinges.
Yes.
And 3 to several windows.
And I will have to say, to get a door to blow open.
The door that Jason then has to axe open. That's the thing. The wind blows it open.
Wind.
She then locks it.
Yeah.
And then he has got to use an axe to get through it.
Yes.
So they just never locked the door up to that point.
No. And the cabin just was fine.
Totally
And
fine.
I don't know where this wind gust came from. That's the other thing that doesn't hold up for me is the continuity of this film.
Yeah.
It just misses steps. It adds things and we don't know why.
Yeah. It's shot like it's full moonlight, yet there's a stormy evening.
Yeah, there's no transitions, there's no explanations, and it's just poorly edited.
Yeah. For me, the next thing that doesn't hold up, Harold's death. It was,
Okay.
to use a line of Chad's, laughably bad. When he comes out of that outhouse / pantry, which again doesn't hold up because why would you have a pantry / liquor cabinet / storeroom for
The
your...
guy's chugging Jack Daniels while he takes his shit.
Yeah.
I didn't get it, yeah.
But then Jason, it was the most lackadaisical swing, like just like, whatever, thunk.
Yeah,
And the cleaver goes into the sternum and that kills him.
yeah.
It was so bad, laughably bad.
Yeah.
And that's the first on-screen murder. Well, other than the review of the end of part 2, and that's what you're going to do with it? Boo.
I agree.
What else didn't hold up for you?
I also had...
Sorry, while you're looking, I'm just going to say, like, I had this whole
go ahead.
note, like, Harold is a disgusting pig. Why is he shitting in a pantry is what I wrote. So yeah, he was my next doesn't hold up.
He's sitting there. I don't know why we needed this element of this character. We needed to make him...
As dislikable as possible.
I don't understand why. Like, he's just a business owner.
It's not like we need to be like, oh, thank God Jason killed him. Now I can empathize with Jason.
Yeah.
We've had 2 films to tell us why we don't empathize with Jason.
And the wife hates him.
Yeah.
She right away, like, starts yelling at him. Yeah, I mean, he's drinking in the pantry while he's taking a shit because he's just miserable.
Yeah.
And then the poor guy gets cleaved. Like, come on. Cut a guy a break.
Why are the filmmakers, why is Steve Miner making him as deplorable as possible? Like,
Yeah, he's just a slug.
our first victim should be empathetic.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe Jason is killing these randos that we care about. No, it's like, oh, thank God that slime is gone.
Yeah, like, even in the beginning, like, when he's taking care of the store...
Yeah.
I mean, he pulls a bunny out of the produce.
He cares about the rabbit.
Yeah. And
Therefore,
then he,
we care about him.
He opens products and eats them and then
that was so
closes
good.
them out. He reminds me of like Master of the House in Les Mis. Like he's just a gross dude
Yeah.
that is just trying to make money any way he can. But it's really disgusting.
Let's get off Harold and go to your next doesn't hold up.
My doesn't hold up is, I'm sorry, you're not sleeping in a hammock.
Oh,
It fucking hurts.
it's a young man's game, apparently.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
We talked about this when we were watching. I'm like, I took an afternoon nap in a hammock and it wrecked
It
me.
hurt for days.
Yeah.
I had to do stretches and core workouts to recorrect what I had done. In a 30-minute nap, it destroyed my back. Hammocks are shit. Like, if you want to swing and read, fine.
Yeah.
Stay alert.
Yeah.
Stay safe.
That's our PSA.
Yeah.
For me, and this was almost an easy grab on this film, but the thing that doesn't hold up is all the 3D shots.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll come up in my research later, but there's so many things they do where it's like, oh, that's going at the camera. This is going at the camera for no reason whatsoever, other than we have 3D technology that isn't the red-blue laminate.
And just because you can doesn't mean you should. And it looks fake. And when they do that, it just looks horrible.
Distractingly so in this one.
Yes.
Like in the opening scene when they're driving to pick up Vera and there's the kids playing stickball.
Yep.
And he holds that stick into camera for a good 3 beat.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Oh, yeah, because the audience is like, wow.
Yeah.
The juggling of the apples, the yo-yo.
Oh, yeah. The yo-yo was so bad.
Throwing a wallet.
Yeah. It's just very, very blatant. There's no subtlety to it at all. And you're just like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
And I wonder, did it really pay off? I don't know. I don't think so.
What's your next doesn't hold up?
The look of the gangsters.
They were almost a trope for me.
Oh, so much so. Their acting was horrible.
Yeah.
But then their costumes were just bad.
They
Like,
watched
they're
the
wearing-
Warriors for the first 5 minutes, like, that's us.
Yeah, and they're wearing chains and stuff. Yeah, I just didn't buy it. We don't know why they're there.
Why they're aggressive instantly.
Yeah, and they just get mad at them, and then all of a sudden they have these 3 bikes out there, and they attack them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no reason for it. But really, the way they looked was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Over the top.
Laughably bad. We're now going to move into our most gratuitous scene. And I'm going to start us off. And my most gratuitous, and this was something that was like weirdly upsetting, but it was Chuck's bare feet. Chad loves this because I almost vomited.
So weird. He's like over on the couch.
I thought I had to pause to go to the bathroom. He's barefoot through the entire film because that's what hippies are.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a scene where he's going to reset the fuse and he's got to step into this water on the ground. And it's like something about bare feet and dirty water just really got to me. It was like almost ASMR level with the audio. We had it turned up pretty good.
Yeah.
And I retched. So gross. So that was my first gratuitous. What's your gratuitous?
Mine was the eye pop with Rick.
Oh, that was great.
When he grabbed him, he kept him silent.
Yeah, so well.
So well. It was so funny because
and you can see his leg twitching.
Oh man, he's flopping around. He's got him in this cross face.
Almost like a half Nelson.
He's masking it so he can't scream. But I don't know how, in the proximity of what's going on, how she couldn't possibly see or hear what was going on. Then he picks Rick up with his hands full stretched and crushes his head and his eye pops out. It was amazing.
My next gratuitous, I only had two because nothing was overly gory.
No.
But it was the windows and doors, and we've talked about that. So yeah. Do you have another gratuitous?
Another gratuitous would be the amount of shots to the barn.
Yes, that was going to be my trope, was like the barn with the swinging door.
Yeah, they always went from the house to the barn, from the house to the barn. There were only two places that this whole film took place, was the house and the barn.
There's 12 dead bodies in this film. If nobody went to the barn, I think it would be 4. That's what I love about the fact that like Debbie, where he's like, let's go have a roll in the hay. She's like, you go play with yourself. I'm going to the house. Like, I'm not going into that weird trap.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm avoiding that at this point in the film. He's got to come to me.
Yeah, that's right. He's got to get me in the shower.
Yeah.
Later.
On that, the shower, let's go into our terrifying or titillating. Chad, what did you find terrifying or titillating in this film?
I would have to say I didn't find anything particularly terrifying. There were a lot of...
There's jump scares.
Whoa! Kind of chills and stuff like and jump scares. But the titillating stuff, and I don't want to sound disgusting, but there is...
The one shower scene?
There's the shower scene, but there is also a bikini scene.
Yeah, there's a lot of like fan service, as we say now.
Yeah. I mean, there's some sexy parts where they try to really build that up because they're teens and they're highly sexualized, right? So those, I guess, serve their purpose.
Well, and it's funny because it's like the bikini shots and like the hint of skinny dipping. They go skinny dipping and like she finds Shelly in the van. She's like, why aren't you at the beach? Like, oh, they all went skinny dipping, but I'm not skinny enough. And like, again, it goes to that whole bullying aspect we've talked about. But then in most 1980s films, we would have seen the skinny dipping.
Yes.
And even Debbie and Andy, they go off to go skinny dipping, right? Sounds disgusting, I'll go too. But we actually never get that scene.
Right.
So this film does a lot of interesting titillation, but not like there's a lot of teasing, I guess.
Yes.
And that almost makes that shower scene even more awkward. She's shot from the shoulders up for a lot of it. And then it like, but then
every once in a while you get a glimpse.
You get a glimpse.
Right?
It's well, that doesn't even need to be there. Like,
no.
Everything else has been a tease.
And if there's any like telling of how to shoot a shower scene, it's in Psycho. Right.
Yeah.
And being titillating with that because they show the belly and they show the back and stuff, but they don't ever show.
Leave it to your audience to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
That scene, then you're like, oh, this is like Psycho. And I'd almost say it's probably close to shot for shot where it's like from the Vivian Lee in the shower to like walking towards the shower curtain. And they do kind of a good job where it's like, we assume it's Jason coming in to like a kill.
Yeah.
But it's Andy on his hands. Did you want the beer?
Yeah.
Oh, I skipped that and that doesn't hold up.
What's that?
The fact that we find out very early that Debbie is pregnant.
Right.
And she makes like 3 to 4 references to the fact that she's pregnant.
Yes.
Like, and she even says to Andy, we are pregnant.
Right.
But then he's like, hey, do you want a beer?
Yeah.
It's like, that doesn't hold up. The whole like offering a pregnant woman a beer.
Yeah. And she says yes at first.
At first, yeah.
And then her whole reason for coming out of the shower is, did you hear me? I said, I don't want that beer.
Yeah. My note on the terrifying or titillating, there wasn't a lot. Like you said, there was jump scares. I think the problem is we're watching this in 2024, looking back at 1982, and the film gives away when the killer's going to be coming on screen.
Oh, most definitely.
So you know exactly when the jump scares are coming or when the kills are coming. But I just loved it was nostalgia, like the 1980s, like just everything's about sex. And so that was my titillating comment was like, Rick is like, hey, haven't seen you for 12 months. Let's get to banging.
Yeah, it's all about that. It's overdone so much.
My first comment on the titillating category was like a quote from Rick. And I think this is his first line in the film where he's grabbed Chris, which we know is a victim of assault.
Right.
Kisses her and she pulls away and he's like, oh, is it my imagination or did you just get colder in here?
Yeah.
So he's already being this like toxic sexual manipulation. Like it's just, that's how you're introducing this guy to us as an audience.
I don't like Rick from the get-go.
From the get-go.
And when he dies, I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah. I don't care.
Let's now move into our stood the test of time. I'm going to kick us off. For me, right off the get-go, if we're looking back at the end of part 2, it's the leg wound.
Oh, yeah, that looked good.
And I think that's where we really see the difference between what was going on in part 2 and what they did with part 3.
Yeah.
Because you think that he's going to stab that pickaxe into her side, but he gets her in the leg and it's a good gouge. That's good blood. The seam of the flesh tear is visceral.
Yeah.
Nothing in the film from there stands up in comparison. Yeah. What was one of your test of times?
I'm only going to give one. It's the last half hour of the film. Right. Just the kill scenes were just so much fun. Like the harpoon in the eye and the crushing of Rick's head. This is what makes me mad is like we didn't even see Shelley die. Like this guy, he just wanders off into the barn.
And he's really the one the audience is rooting for, right?
Yeah.
The underdog, the whole film.
And so they really missed the boat on that. I don't really get why that happened. The whole scene where Jason brings down the machete on Andy.
Oh, right to the crotch.
And there is that low angle shot right up there. And obviously they had like a pane of glass because the blood hits that. And
they cut that too quick though.
They did cut it too quick, but it was good that they cut it quick because your brain doesn't get that chance to like
see it go wrong.
Yeah. Be like, oh yeah, this is how they did it. Yeah. Because they needed to get it out of there. And then her death, where he like grabs her from the hammock then like pokes his machete through there. Yeah. Like every death scene was really, really cool.
Yeah.
It was getting there. That was tough.
I've got a few tests of times and you've missed, or maybe not missed a couple, but I'm going to remind you of a couple other good death scenes. Yeah. Before we get there, like I really enjoyed Shelley driving over the bike. So they get chased. They get chased out of the convenience store.
Yeah.
And he drives away. It's like, yeah, fine. Like I would do that too. I would be the coward that drives away. And then Shelley turns around and Vera's like, what are you doing? He's like, he went too far this time. And at first I'm like, is he going to drive him over? Like, holy shit, that's amazing. But no, he just drives over the front rim of that bike. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like,
she's not going anywhere.
I accidentally bumped into you. Your bike fell over. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You pushed it too far. Then I'm going to fucking ruin the bike.
Yeah. Whoops the daisy.
Yeah. So I thought that was a great test of time.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Moving on from there, the hockey mask. It's going to come up in our research. We're going to talk about it, but they just dismissively add it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they knew what they had.
Right.
Right. And then the next person came and took the chapter 4 and then put the hockey mask on. And then it just went on from there.
But it stands the test of time. Like that hockey, that Red Wings hockey mask, you can't see it and not go Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. It's just like Michael Myers, right? It's sold in every costume shop.
Yeah. My favorite death in the film was the harpoon to the eye.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. Where Vera's on the beach and she sees Jason walking the hockey mask. And there's been like that boy who cries wolf trope where Shelley was wearing it first. She's like, oh, come on, put it away. I was worried they were going to keep selling that she didn't recognize it was someone different.
Yeah.
But then she's like, wait, who are you?
Yes.
And then he lines the harpoon up, but you're like, dive.
Yeah. It's like, get in the water.
No, she just stands there like, is this the eye you're shooting for? Like he fires the harpoon. They go for that 3D shot, which doesn't play well in a 2D restoration
stupid,
we saw
but
now.
When it hits her,
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
You're like, whoa. Yeah. I remember when he walked out of the barn, she's like, Shelley. And you're like, how does she not know that's not him?
Yeah. But thankfully they didn't play too hard to that.
Yes. Yeah. Immediately she's like, oh, who are you?
Yeah. And my last test of time is Chris as the final girl. I loved like the last 30 minutes of this film was good with the number of deaths and everything, but her response and escape is amazing.
Yeah.
She never loses her mind once.
No.
Like she comes back to this cabin and she's like, oh, the Wild Bunch seems to have gone to bed early. What's going on? And then Rick gets killed.
Yeah.
And then she just like never loses her cool. Like I put like Chris is such a great final girl. The Wood Club.
Yeah.
She could run away. She has her chance to get away, but she's like, no, I'm going to go back around. When we were watching, I'm like, what is she doing? And then she picks up the wood, waits for Jason to come out, clubs him over the head. It's like, holy shit. Then she like takes him into the barn.
Yeah.
Puts the rope around his neck, tries to hang him.
Well, and that's where it gets ridiculous.
It does, because it's like the killer can't die. If we've established he comes back at the end of part 2 after the machete to the clavicle, then we know he's not going to hang to death. But I loved even like she gets into the van. She's like, oh, the key. And then she digs into her own pocket. Like, did you not know you had the key? Like, I can understand if she like pulled it from the visor or something, but she's like, she looks at the ignition. The key's not there. And then it's in her own pocket. That was the only flaw in her.
But
final
you know
girl.
what? I actually like that.
Did you?
Because it's a trope when they go in there and they pull it from the visor and it falls into their hand and they're like, okay. So the fact that she had it, I thought that she was just so disheveled. And she's like, who's got the key? Who's got the key? Oh, I have the key.
Right,
Whoops. And then she digs into her pocket and she does it. I love the fact that they gave her a little bit of gas.
Yeah. And then she gets away and she like, stalls out on the bridge. I loved the reserve though.
Yes.
When she runs out of gas.
I put that in as a roll up windows and reserve tank. I didn't know where to put that because reserve tanks don't exist anymore.
No, so it doesn't hold up because they don't exist. But but I think this is the test of time because like she didn't freak out. She knew roll up that window,
hit the reserve tank
and try to get the fuck out. Yeah. She was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Again, the last 30 minutes of this film, like she's a strong character. We see who she's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But we don't see that through the whole film.
She's just got this weird guy like, hey, baby. Like,
it's like, why don't we get together? Why don't we get together? It just seems like a waste of time. Right?
For sure.
And then you get this 30 minutes of like, whoa.
Yeah.
Who is she? I agree. Like when I wouldn't say Sigourney Weaver. She's not as good as that.
No, she doesn't Sigourney Weaver her way out of it, but
she is strong.
She's one of the strongest females at the end of a film that we've seen up to this point.
Yeah, for sure.
We're now going to move into our category of eerie to ear splitting. Chad, what did you find eerie or ear splitting about the sound in this film?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say is the Jason.
Oh, yeah.
At first, it's creepy.
Yeah. I put it down as like, yes.
And this term gets thrown around a lot as iconic or whatever, but it
is.
I mean, for that franchise, it is iconic, right? Yeah. So that I like at first, but they hammer throughout the whole film. And so by midway through the film, I'm like, I'm done. Yeah. That's enough.
They gave away everything with that.
So what became eerie transformed into ear splitting, and I was just done with this. Yeah. Stop it.
I was the same way because we talked about it when we did New Year's Evil because they paid homage to it. I'm going to give that film more credence than it deserves and say that they paid homage to the Friday the 13th franchise where they used it in the liquor store scene.
Right. Yeah.
So when this film started, my first note is eerie, kill, 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 ka, ka, ka. It's like, yes, I love it. And I hated it by the end of this film.
Right.
It is overused and the music even gives everything away. That's why I mentioned jump scares earlier and you're like, man, not really. Because you said in our Exorcist film, you are a victim of jump scares. Yeah. Not in this one. No. Because I think the film really sells every moment of something's going to happen. And it does.
It's too much.
Yeah. And ear splitting. I loved the funk fusion of the opening credits. It doesn't fit. It's so bad.
No.
So good, but so bad.
And so good, but so bad. I was confused.
I feel that it would have been a great opening credit song in like a futuristic rollerball-esque type film. Yeah. Not in a Friday the 13th.
No. And I mentioned also that the credits come in like Superman. I know it's 3D, but it's they swoop in and swoop out and it's like, interesting.
One of my other notes was like, everything has an eerie musical sting. No matter what they do. It's like, ting, chong. Yeah. There was a moment we were watching and I can't remember. Is it when Chris goes up into the hayloft?
Yeah.
And like they hold those strings and I was like miming the, the choir like. Yeah. And release.
And done.
Because it just becomes just orally distracting to the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so on that use of music, we're now going to go into our what the fuck moment. And for me, my what the fuck was pregnant.
Yeah. Just nonchalantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is when they're in the van, the hippies are getting high, the cops have got their sirens going, and they're trying to get everyone to eat the weed.
Yeah.
And the woman in the middle of the front row of this van is like, oh, sorry, I can't. I'm pregnant. Like, what? Like, you look 18. So to throw in like very young, but already pregnant and just like, don't you know? Like, you should know I can't eat drugs. I'm pregnant. So yeah, that just blew me away.
Right.
What was one of your what the fucks?
Well, my biggest one, I guess, is why would you go back?
Yeah.
It's been 2 years since I've been back there since the incident. I was like, well, why are you going back there?
Yeah.
Who cares? Just go to another cabin. Like, find somewhere else to go.
Or if it's like, if you're going back to see Rick, like Rick has a Volkswagen, he can go anywhere else. I love the fact like he dresses like he's country club, but he drives a beat up Volkswagen.
I know.
So one of my other what the fucks, 1980s horror, I think this is going to come up in a lot of our discussions, the misogyny, right? The representation of women on film, but also the treatment of women on film. There's the male gaze that I think from the 2024 lens we need to address when we talk about these films, and we do. But the way these people are written, we need to address that as well. And so...
Do we need to address that in every film? Or do we need to address that like and just be like...
I think, yeah, maybe we don't need to address it in every film. But this one, it was like weirdly obvious.
Oh, yeah, it was so bad.
Yeah. So Vera and Shelley have never met each other until they're going to this cabin.
Yeah.
This film takes place over maybe 22 hours. Maybe.
Yeah.
They're driving up in the daylight, sun sets, movie ends in darkness.
Yeah.
So I'm giving 22 hours is a long breadth.
Yeah, no. I'd say you're pretty accurate. Yeah.
Shelley treats Vera, objectifies, I don't know what the word is, but like he's just like, yeah, you know, we've been set together to obviously copulate like everyone else has been doing.
Copulate.
Well, he treats her like, why aren't we having sex yet? And whereas she's like, she doesn't rebuke him. She doesn't say like, no, I don't want to spend any time with you. She's like, let's talk. Let's get to know each other.
Yeah.
So they're in front of the fireplace and he's like checking out her ass while she's like stoking the fire. He's juggling. And then basically he puts on like a very aggressive move and she's like, no. Like, let's just walk.
Right.
And she walks away and he's like, oh, bitch.
She basically says, I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
And we'll get to know each other.
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk. And he's just, bitch. And
it was
right
so
there,
weird.
I was like, I hope this guy dies.
Yeah. Yeah. Because he's been the sort of lovable loser up to that point.
Yeah. And then you see this dark side of him and
I'm putting way too much of a 2024 lens on this, where it's like, is he just trying to like do this toxic masculinity affectation that he's seen within Andy and others? We haven't seen that represented at this point either. We have established relationships going off to do established relationship things.
Yeah.
That was my what the fuck. It's like, where did that come from? Why would you skew the character that way?
Yeah, you're right. He just takes this weird turn.
Yeah.
And you'd think he'd be more like, okay, yeah, let's go have a talk. Or
I have a girl that's still interested in me.
She still wants to talk to me. That's awesome. After I made this super aggressive move.
Yeah. And juggled and tried to kill her twice playfully.
She likes my juggling.
Yeah. Or my playful attempts to quote kill or show that I'm dead. Like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
She's
weird.
still hanging around. Yeah.
So those are my what the fucks. It was just like, why ruin that character when we've established him as like the only emotional investment at that point?
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
All right. We're now going to go into our back it up moments. Chad, what was your back it up moment of the film?
So I have two.
Okay.
I think my back it up moment, I said I love the kill scenes. I think the harpoon scene.
Yeah.
Even though like the shot of it was kind of dull.
The lead up bad, but the punchline of the shot was great.
So I like that. And again, Rick squeezing of the head and the eyeball popping out. Like if you were in 3D, it would look cheesy. If they re-imaged it and did it now, it'd look pretty cool.
It'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah. But that one was awesome. Those are my two back it up moments. I didn't really have a lot other than that because this movie was kind of fodder until we got up there.
Yeah.
Like those three gangsters in the convenience store. I even said to you, I was like, oh, well, these are just fodder for Jason.
Yeah, you said that. And then they became the immediate fodder.
That's exactly it.
My back it up moment was great. I think this is like,
I loved it. Yeah.
You couldn't script this better. We're watching this movie. It's going along and I'm going through my notes and I'm looking back. I'm like, oh man, I don't have a back it up moment. A fraction of a second later, Rick gets thrown through a sheet of glass like he was thrown by a giant giant and he's the spiral going for a touchdown. Like it's just,
oh man, he gets tossed.
I couldn't have asked for a better back it up where I'm like, I don't think I have a back it up moment. And he comes through that window beautifully. Straight, a diver going into a pool of water at the Olympics. I don't even know how else you describe it.
Almost, I think it was like 10 seconds after you said that.
Not even.
You're like, I don't even think I have a back it up moment. And then boom. I was like, there it is. Yeah.
He dove through that window like Greg Louganis.
Yeah.
Like
golden.
So it was just amazing. So that's my back it up. Just because up to this moment in the film, I think the kills are great. We had a lot of great reactions to what we were seeing. It was so fun.
Yeah.
But that's my back it up because like that will forever stay in my heart.
Awesome.
Plus, so happy to see Rick take it.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't be happier.
It was the best death.
Yeah. Couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, we're now going to go into our hiding in the shadows. And my first one is Chris's memory of what happened the first time she encountered Jason.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she talks about how she runs away from home and she goes and it's raining. So she hides under this tree for shelter and she
looks the same age, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we're going to forgive a lot of that because apparently 40-year-olds are also in love with 20-year-olds and pregnant. So it's problematic if we get into the dissection of the age of the actors on this one.
Okay. All right.
But she runs under this tree. She falls asleep. She's like, I must have fallen asleep. And then she wakes up. She's attacked by Jason. And I'm trying to remember from like part 2, was there ever a moment? And this is where the timeline gets really shaky.
Yeah.
Part 1 is the mother killing the counselors.
Yes.
Part 2 is Jason coming back to avenge the mother's death.
Yes.
And we're to believe that the end of part 2 is one day before part 3. But 2 years ago, Chris is under a tree.
Yeah.
Falls asleep.
Running away from her parents, and Jason is there.
And Jason is there and chases her. And he's already dead at Crystal Lake by that point.
Yeah. It
doesn't line up. But what really let's erase the entire timeline of this. Let's pretend this is the same event as what we're seeing in part 3. Jason doesn't leave victims. She passes out. He drags her off. We don't know what happens. There's stuff that came up when I was doing research about what fan theories there are about what Jason does or doesn't do to Chris at that point.
Right.
But then she wakes up in her bed.
Yeah.
Jason is dead in a lake, revives as a killer, kills everyone he encounters. Why would he drag her to her parents' house, put her in bed, and then walk away? Let's ignore everything that may or may not have happened between tree and there.
So right there, you've ignored the whole timeline.
Yes.
You've ignored, let's ignore this. Let's ignore that.
I
so
forgive
let's
a
just
lot.
say it's shitty writing and they didn't take that into account. So they tried to write a backstory that just didn't match up.
Yeah.
Is what happened.
They had to establish why Chris had ever been at Crystal Lake before.
Yeah. So again, what doesn't hold up?
Why are they there?
Story.
Yeah.
Why are they there? And why is Jason there just slaughtering people? Like, I don't know.
Did you have anything hiding in the shadows?
Well, just the continuity errors, really. Like, I mean, there's one scene where the gangster that runs away with this gas can into the barn.
Yeah.
And then the next scene,
Allie's got to carry both gas cans
carrying both gas cans.
Yeah.
And how much gas is in this van?
Yeah, I thought about that too. Like 3 large jerry cans worth of gas came out of that van.
The way he siphons the gas is not believable. I mean, the continuity errors with time of day, these are all things that make me not love the film.
Yeah.
And the fact that the writing is so poor.
So poor.
But that's not really hiding in the shadows. So
you're like, what's shitting on the film?
What can I rant more about this film before we end our podcast? But it's really that, I guess. I just watched the last half hour.
I'm going to stay on this because I feel this film deserves all of the ire. Chad and I had talked about, like, when we're watching together, what do we do? Because I love to pause. Chad likes to basically cowboy through it and see what comes on the notes later. But the first pause that I pulled on both of us was at the convenience store, the / grocery store, whatever you want to call it. There were so many train references.
Right.
In the laundry line, There's look out for the locomotive at the end of one of the laundry lines. I'm like, okay, that's a weird, like middle of shot line. I'm like, okay. So I started to write that one down, not even thinking of like, that's just weird. Then we go into the store. There's a great train robbery poster at the bottom of the till. I'm like, oh, second train reference. I'm like, something's going on here. So that's where I really started to look for it.
You're really starting to look at stuff.
We then get a close-up of the fish bowl because he's feeding the fish and also eating the fish food.
Oh, yeah.
But in the fish bowl, there's also a green locomotive. And then when it pulls back to his reaction of eating bugs or worms or whatever it is that he's like tasted to see why do the fish like this, I'll see what it is. There's also a railroad crossing thing there.
I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm like, wow, they are really punching home a locomotive. It's going to pay off. Nope. Nothing. So that's why I paused the film at that point. I'm like, I need to write all this down because it's going to come back. It's going to be a great comment in the podcast. No, it's not. Gave me nothing.
Probably some dude like trains and he's just like, let's just put a bunch of shit in.
Yeah. His 3-year-old likes trains. I don't know. The other thing that I had for hiding in the shadows, I'm not going to let this go with this film.
Oh man, we got to wrap this up.
Okay, we've talked about the sleeping in the hammock, the sex in the hammock.
Oh, yes. The 5 limbs, that we discovered. Yeah.
There's a screenshot you need to look at. I'm going to put it on the website. There are 5 legs on screen while they are, quote, like finishing up in that hammock.
Well, and 2 of them are like really, really weird angles.
Weird angles to foot to,
to be doing that.
Yeah. So 3 of them are hairy. 4 of them are hairy.
Yeah. I know.
We paused and backed up. That's our back it up moment. Yeah. We backed it up 3 times.
Most definitely. Yeah. We backed it up a bunch and we were like, really? Is that what's going on there? And yeah.
All right. On the how many limbs were in the hammock, we're now going to get into our bonus features. Chad, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Well, the first one I found was Larry Zerner was cast as Shelley when the producers spotted him handing out flyers for a horror movie and asked him if he'd want to star in one himself.
Wow. Really shows on screen.
Right. It's like, hey, we're putting together a horror movie, so why don't you get in here? Yeah.
I mean, that's the dream, right? I just want to be noticed. I just want to be noticed.
You hear those stories every once in a while.
Yeah.
But
it didn't pay off.
No.
We had raised that question of, was this successful? Was the idea of 3D and what did it do to the franchise and all of that? It was a successful film, right? It was a budget of about 2.3 million. Box office, it took in 36.7. 34 of that was US. The rest of that was worldwide.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Friday the 13th Part 4, box office, 11 million.
Yeah.
So I think this film was we're going back for more.
And now we're tired.
And now we're done. Yeah.
I found this little tidbit. To prevent the film's plot being leaked, the production used the fake title, Crystal Japan.
I have more on that. But
after a David Bowie song. This began an on-again, off-again tradition of giving Friday the 13th films David Bowie songs titles during the filming.
Not only did they do that to prevent the plot being leaked, but it was also because union representatives were trying to protest the film. Because Paramount on the Friday the 13th franchise was known for using non-union labor at all levels of production.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So this came up in my research. So because they were using non-union labor, the unions were trying to protest the film and stop things from being done, because Friday the 13th Part 1 was a sort of independent random film. Part 2, they did the same thing. Part 3, they had caught wind of, they're going to keep doing this sort of guerrilla-esque filmmaking. They need to start using union representation and union labor, especially for something as lucrative as this film was.
Right.
But they didn't. So yeah, they used the Crystal Japan as a moniker to sort of throw off the labor groups as well. Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting. They did it for 2 reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had something that was kind of interesting was the actor that played Jason was actually a former trapeze artist.
Oh.
And he performed all of his own stunts. So this is the first time in the franchise where all shots of Jason were played by the same character. And I think even in other films, they had stunts / body placements in other scenes. So this is the first like 100% Jason on film.
Right.
But what's interesting is they basically cast this performer sight unseen. And so when he showed up, he's a trapeze artist. He's slight, he's small.
Right.
And so they had to pad him and add. And so that neck and that head that you see, I think was just sort of because they added so much to his body, they felt like, well, we have to balance this out. It became distractingly weird, his head. It was a thumb sticking out of shoulders. It was so odd.
And he didn't have a lot of stunts.
No.
That required a trapeze artist to do.
Nor was his movement fluid or required.
It was just a stalking, working guy.
Yeah. Like when we talked about Halloween, we talked about how Michael Myers, or the guy that portrayed Michael Myers, was trained in ballet.
Yes.
And his movements were graceful and smooth. This is a lumbering oaf on film from beginning to end. I do know that the filming for this one was West Coast, whereas part 1 and part 2 were East Coast. And so they didn't want to have to fly the original person who portrayed Jason out to the West. It would cost too much.
Right.
So they recast Jason. But why they went for this guy who didn't fit the body size, I don't know. I couldn't find that in the research.
That's weird.
Yeah.
One little tidbit was the film was released on Friday the 13th. And this is obviously the first film that we get the iconic hockey mask, which again, I was thinking that it just doesn't, I don't know, they just really didn't hit it home. And I don't think they knew what they had when they were doing that. This is Paramount's first 3D film since Ulysses 1954, 28 years earlier, which I never got to see this film in 3D, but I don't know if it would have done it for me. I don't think it was good enough to warrant the $5 charge back in the 80s. And we also have, according to the book Crystal Lake Memories, Chris' past encounter with Jason was originally intended to imply a sexual assault. The series was meant to conclude with this entry, and the writers wanted audiences to be pleased with Jason's demise, reasoning that if they were portrayed as a rapist, they would have no interest in seeing him come back. It was ultimately decided this was too dark a direction to take the character, and those elements were removed from the film.
So basically, he was just a nice guy who found her in the woods and then took her home. Then is what we're supposed to.
Yes.
Yeah, the rape would have been too dark, but I don't want to pull out that thread because the whole film falls apart at that point.
Well, the whole film falls apart anyways.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not a well-constructed story.
Yeah. They should have just taken that whole Chris has an encounter with him out.
Yes.
Because the other thing that came up in the research that I was doing where it's like Chris's memory or flawed or whatever you want to call it, the scene where she's in the dream where she's in the canoe and then Jason's mother pulls her into the water.
Yeah.
She has no reason to know what Jason's mother looks like or what that even is about.
Yes.
This is the first.
Well, that's a dream.
No, I know. But like, why is she dreaming about a woman that she doesn't even know exists?
I know.
And this is the only film where Jason isn't called by name. So she doesn't even know who Jason Voorhees is. He's just a random guy who tried to attack her who looked weird.
Yeah.
And now he's back. So then why, when she wakes up in the canoe and has that dream of being attacked, would she dream of a mother that she doesn't know is a backstory?
So this is where
everything falls apart. And this is why audiences didn't return in part 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is where it disconnects from the storyline.
Yeah.
And becomes its own movie.
Yeah.
Like they just decided to make a slasher film. They tried to connect some stuff, but they didn't do it well.
Yeah. The mythology or the canon was not followed.
Yes. And then they go into the other ones and then it just builds and they just become slasher films.
Yeah.
Because when you watch the second one,
so good.
I thought it was really well done.
Yeah.
And the fact that she, and I didn't mention this before, but when Ginny puts the mom's old sweater on and they do that crossover for 82, 81, that was amazing. They really did it well.
I remember watching part 2 and when she picks that sweater up and puts it on, like, I just remember being like, oh my God, like,
yes,
that's been in the water. It's just saturated with mold. And
it's got blood and gore on it.
So
and
good.
She's putting it on.
And you feel that like squelching of that sweater going on. So when I saw that again at the start of this, and we're like, oh, that's right. It was such a great epic ending.
And I love the fact that he sees her as mom for a bit.
Starts
and then
listening
he
to her.
starts coming towards her like he's going to kill her. And she's like, Jason, stop.
Yeah, it's done.
Yeah, it's done. It's done. And then he sees the
Desiccated corpse.
Yeah, that whole scene, like Friday the 13th, 1 and 2 were so well done.
Yeah.
After that, it falls apart.
Yeah, they just destroyed the franchise with this one.
Yeah.
We see that in the box office. We see that with the sequels and what they try to revamp it and reintroduce it with. And they fall victim to the 1980s pursuit of horror franchise and sequels.
Yes.
From this point
they
on.
just want to make money, and they're like, there's no story, and let's just kill them all.
I do want to give credit to this film. The 3D effect in this film was the first to use polarized lenses for its audiences.
Okay.
Up to this point, it was that red and blue, the cereal box 3D. But this was the first where the film pioneered the use of two cameras shot side by side, shooting the scenes simultaneously.
Oh,
and then
nice.
by having the audience wear polarized lenses would create the 3D effect. And that's what we're still using today. When we go to see a 3D film, it's a polarized lens that's like one frame of right, one frame of left, and then it bounces back and forth.
Right.
So it's unfortunately due to this film. And the only other piece that I had to add to this was an alternate ending had Chris being decapitated.
No. Doesn't work.
No, especially when you see such a strong final girl.
Yeah, and I do like how she's kind of breaking down in the cop car, but I don't like how they're dealing with that. We made reference to this guy shaking her. He's like, calm down. Like, it's just so poorly done.
The end of this film, like there's no EMS on site.
No.
Jason's body's just left.
Multiple bodies all over the place. There's blood everywhere, but there's just a couple of cops, and the one guy comes up there and he's like,
well, he's insulting her on the way up the stairs. And then he goes quiet. He's like, oh, she's here.
What's up with this girl?
Yeah.
Oh, she's gone crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's throw this piece of meat on our watchability scale. Oh, man, there are great moments and there are terrible moments. I don't know where to throw this. It's not a 1. It's not a 2.
No.
I don't know if I want to put it up near a 5. So I'm really bouncing between that 3 and 4. That last half hour would push it above a 5. I'm going to sit it at a 4. It sits at a 4 for me.
That's exactly where I put it. Yeah. I was going to jump in, but it's a 4. That last half hour saves it.
Yeah.
That first 45 minutes to an hour is just tough.
Yeah.
And it's too tough.
And it doesn't deserve to be rewarded.
No, and it doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a fun slasher film, but they just don't do it well. And I know they're supposed to be, like we talk about, character development. You don't want a 2.5 hour slasher movie, but you need something.
This is becoming the complaint of the 1980s, though. Like, we loved The Exorcist and what they did with character development.
Yes.
The 1980s haven't done it well.
This is where we start to get into the gore porn kind of thing, right? Like where people just want to see the kill and not really care about what anything else is going on.
Why?
Yeah. And it's carried on.
Yeah.
So we'll see what the next one brings. But we're both at a 4 on this one.
Both out of 4. And so with that, thank you very much for listening to us. Remember to follow us on Instagram. We are at ScreamStreamPod. Stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, for more information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, our watchability scale, and a page where you can recommend movies you want us to discuss. We've been getting some coming in and we are excited to see them. We've added them to our lineup and we will be getting to them when we can. Please keep sending those films in. We are listening and we are going to do them.
Thank you very much.
Until next time, this has been Mike and
Chad.
Scare you later.